Okay, Joe Diomede here, Telly Brun, and I'm in Clock Tower Music, speaking to the owner. And actually, I didn't even get your name,
My name's Roy.
Roy. Speaking of Roy, and Roy has turned this fantastic shop here in Bridport from an interesting history of manufacturing to antique shop. I'll let Roy fill you in, and I'm surrounded by lovely vinyl, beautiful pictures, 45s. So, Roy, give me the quick history that we were talking about off camera about this lovely space.
Okay, well, I mean, this was part of an industrial estate originally. I think it was one of the first in the area. And most of down here was originally used to make nets for the fishing industry and ropes, because Bridport's famous for the ropes, goes back 800 years. Anyway, over years things changed. Back in the 80s, this and next door was an electronics factory, and they used to make preamps and graphic equalizers. And then one day, apparently, this company came in and said, can you build us two mixing desks? Which they did. And apparently, the two in the Sydney Opera House were made in this room, which was really cool. It was almost felt to be, you know. Then it became, as I said, it was an antique shop, sort of brown furniture and bric-a-brac and stuff. And I moved here, Bridport, back in 2006. And when I moved here, I took a stall on the market. So my record collection I collected all my life, because it was filled a garage. And anyway, I got chatting to the guy who owned this, and I said, "Oh, can I have a corner?" And I started selling records in here. And then over time, Nigel, who ran this, was thinking of retiring. And so other people became involved, and at one stage we were selling musical instruments and guitars and all sorts of stuff. And there were 3 or 4 of us all, getting together as a group. And then we sort of recognised more and more that the vinyl and the records and new hi-fi and repairs were where we were going. So I said, "Look, I'll run it." Because you need to have one person, because with groups of you never really get a lot done. So we sold the back off, and there's a recording studio and a rehearsal room in there. And we've concentrated on vinyl. And really, this has been in the last year. I mean, we've been 2, 3, 4 years in transferring from one to the other. But fully vinyl and organised as it is now has been literally a year. But we've tried to make it look as though it's been here a long time. And it's surprised the number of people who walk in and say, "How have I missed this for 10 years?" You know?
Oh, sure. I mean, I walked in, I was like, wow, an old record shop here brought back so many memories. And I must say, another shop, my Weymouth series, Weymouth Bridport Dorset series here, is all about like people serving community. I just spoke to Johnny, your neighbor there, running Stir magazine, about community finance, and here you are. So how is the community embracing this record shop?
Well, absolutely fantastic. I mean, in one respect, it's a small community. So probably 75% of our business comes from tourism and visitors, really, because that's just the size of it. With a population of around 12,000 in the winter and maybe 40, 50,000 a week in the area in the summer. So there's a tremendous amount of tourism. So we've tried to make it so that it's of interest, so that it appeals to all generations, male, female, and that's the nice open space, and it's down in an art and vintage quarter, which is a little off the beaten track, but once people come down here and find it, they come back.
St. Michael's, is that St. Michael's is the area?
It is, yeah.
Yes, lovely. I mean, when I came down here with the old brick buildings, it's just really smacks of that era of.
Absolutely. And so over time, over the last year, we've sort of branched out. So now we've started doing new and second-hand hi-fi and repairs. And one of the really, I suppose you call it, interesting things is we've taken 1950s, 60s valve radios, made them fully working, but disconnected the aerials and put a Bluetooth receiver so you can play your iTunes and your Spotify through 1950s, 60s radios.
Excellent.
And even sort of things which you might get a view after of those which are old electronics, we put Bluetooth speakers in those, so you've got almost steampunk type old electrical equipment that you can use to play Spotify, iTunes, or anything off the net, really.
Great. We're marrying up the old and the new. I mean, this whole area, this whole block here, this whole street reminds me of that. It's just a beautiful melding of the beautiful past, the architecture, and the present, and now the present is going back to vinyl and Bluetooth, and you embrace the technology as well. And why not?
Yeah. I think one of the things that we actually picked up on back in 2006-7, when I started doing this stuff, they had when I had the market stall, the town surveyor said to me that we could do is something to theme the market for sort of 4 times a year. So what I tended to do was I was thinking about it, and I said to him, actually, why don't we have vinyl or records on a thing on the market 4 times of the year? And of course, at that stage, everybody went, "Are you mad?" So what I did was I talked to all the market traders, went to all the charity shops, and I organised the record fair, and I gave it the name Vinyl Saturday. And we ran the first event, which actually went really well because people could come not only go to a record fair, but there's a good market stall, well, probably one of the best markets in the southwest here where you might find vinyl. And then there's various charity shops and other shops. And that progressed, and we ended up, if you included all the charity shops, with about 20 odd places you could find records in Bridport. And according to one of the record reps from one of the companies, they said that it was actually, Bridport was one of the hot spots in the country for vinyl and records, doing that side. And then I wrote to a national magazine, or I sent an email to a national magazine called Record Collector. And I just sent them this email saying, we run this event. The town council actually gave us £100 towards the advertising to promote it. And they came back within the hour saying, what a great idea. Because I set the whole thing up to try and make Bridport, like there's a town called Hay-on-Wye, which is where, so I wanted to try and create that, but for records in Bridport. And I live here, so it was to help boost tourism. And it went from there, and then Record Collector wrote an editorial twice in the year, and then one of them voted, record, the Vinyl Saturday Record Fair of the Year across Europe, which was really cool.
Excellent.
So then we carried on, and the market stall went well, and I'm quite involved in the community, and then we just progressed to where we are now.
Yeah, and it's a great community. I mean, we just ate in a local. I had lunch with Johnny from Stir magazine in a nice local restaurant with locally grown food. There's a real vibe in Bridport.
It is. I mean, Bridport it's almost that sort of, don't maybe call it a magic circle, but there's the art, there's the literary festival, there's the film festival, there's the food festivals, and most of the pubs and the venues in town have music on quite a lot of the week. So there's a very vibrant younger element that are creating some really interesting stuff here. And for such a small town, I mean, we've got 3-4 places that with live music. We've got the Electric Palace, which is a 1930s cinema. There's the Art Centre. There's another theatre up around the corner called the Lyric, and then there's other small clubs and various things around as well.
Yeah.
So it's a great vibe now. I mean, we even put music on in here. I mean, one of the favourite ones, we had a band came from Japan, Dainichi. They flew in on the Wednesday night. They did their album launch in here on the Thursday, and the local paper said Japanese indie band launch album in Bridport, you know. And then they did a couple of radio shows on the Friday, a gig Saturday, Sunday, and went back to Japan on the Monday. Wow. And the place was rammed. You know, there were 40, 50 people here. There were even people outside looking through the window. And we've done that. We did, you know, another album launch where the artwork was done by one of the artists, Paul Blow, upstairs. So Paul came down and autographed the covers. We've got another one at the end of March, which is a surf band, and it's their album launch. So we get people, and they came from one of the other gigs, and they just said, what a cool place. Right. And then we've got a local hip-hop band, and they filmed part of the stuff in here as well as up on the cliffs. Because, of course, down here was Broadchurch, the TV series. Right. Was filmed down here, and you had Far From the Madding Crowd, so it goes back. But even if you go back in the history of film round here, the beach was, you probably won't know this, but there was a programme called Reginald Perrin, and that was filmed, part of it down here, and even further back in the 50s and 60s, there was a BBC radio programmes, The Navy Lark, was filmed here when they did a film of it, and various other things have gone.
And the boat at Rocks, it was filmed in the Weymouth area.
Yeah, absolutely, you know, and also the recent Dunkirk was filmed in Weymouth as well.
True.
You know, so there is that. And if you tie in the fact that you've got all the, down here, the coast, the Jurassic coast as the gateway to, you know, things on that side, that's absolutely, it's a World Heritage Site.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is actually really, really good in doing that side.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, Roy, I mean, great. And you had a five-page spread in what magazine was that you showed me before?
It's called Long Live Vinyl, which is a national magazine. It's been out about a year. I think it's in most newsagent supermarkets. And it is something that creates on the new interest or the renewal of vinyl. And that was purely the editor came in one day. Well, I didn't know he was the editor. He came to the counter and he said, I really like your shop. And like most people that come in, I sort of asked them whether they'll write us a review on Facebook, because that's what gets you out there. And he said, would you like me to write it up in my magazine? I'm the editor along with Rob. And I was a subscriber. I go, yes, please, like you would.
Well, there you go. Positivity breeds positivity, and that's what I'm doing here in this part of the world, doing interviews with positive people. Roy, thank you very much for the history report, for letting me in your shop. I'm going to pan around with my camera and just show a quick view of the shop with the old radio. So thanks again.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Cheers.
Take care. Joe Diomede, tell him I'm Brian. I'm going to pick up my my camera here, and there goes Roy putting on one of his radios.
The original 1960s American electronic equipment, and what we've done is we've put a Bluetooth receiver on the back, and we put a speaker inside. So I'll put some music on for when you work.
Okay, yep. So I'm going to go around. There you go. Look at that. Only a year as a vinyl shop. Looks like it's been here centuries. Joe Diomede, tell him I'm Bron. There he goes. Mr. Zimmerman, Bob Dylan. Joe Diomede, tell him I'm Bron. From Bridport on the Jurassic Coast in Dorset. Tell him I'm Bron. Goodbye.